Hello everyone and welcome to Condor's Craft. I decided to crawl out from under the rock that I've been hiding under and come say hello. So I dug my head out of the sand just for you guys. No, I've been thinking about coming back and getting on here for a while, but life, just life and changes and so many changes. We're all going through, all of us on this planet right now are facing some sort of change in our life, whether it's weather, crazy extreme weather, or moving, or jobs, or life situations. We're all experiencing something right now. I don't think anybody is not affected. And so I've been dealing with that on in my own life, and it just has felt like my day-to-day life is enough, that doing anything extra is too hard. So that's kind of the reality, and I don't want to be too doom and gloom and too sad, and you got to find the joy in every day and every moment, and when you can, and so we are doing well. For those who are returning, thank you guys for coming back, and I miss you all, and some of you have stayed in touch with me. Okay, I am sorry about the interruption. I had certified mail that I had to run out and sign. Just health-related paperwork that's kind of unnecessary, in my opinion, but rules are rules. So, where was I? So I was going to say, I'm going to jump into some of the things that I'm excited about. I have picked making back up. I've done some weaving, I've done some spinning, I've done a lot of knitting, but most of it just really recently. Over the spring, summer, and fall, I didn't do a lot of crafting. So some of it was what I just talked about. The weather, for me in particular, it's been weather extremes that have been difficult for me and personally, but I just had no desire, no passion, no mojo whatsoever. It was dead. So I was doing other things. I had an incredible garden despite the non-stop constant rain this past year. Monsoon downpours freaked me out. I felt like our foundation was going to wash away at some points, but it's just some anxiety because of all of these weather extremes that keep coming up, including the most extreme lightning storm I've ever experienced, with sonic booms that shook our whole house, striking every minute, several times a minute, and we woke up to a dead lamb, and we think somehow she died in the storm. We don't know how, and my husband had to retrieve her body from underneath our shed. We have a little sheep shed, and we think somehow she crawled under there and got stuck and got scared, and it's nothing we could have known would have happened until after it happened. In hindsight, I wish I coulda, woulda, shoulda. That was Padma that died, and so we had a lot of hard things happen last year. The very last video that I did was really hard for me because my sheep Luna, I had a dairy sheep, just the one at the time, and she developed the worst case of mastitis you can get, which is Staph aureus, I think is what it's called. And long story short, she had recovered well enough that she's in much better health. I found a retirement home for her to go to where she's very loved and very happy, and she's got a dog-like happy-go-lucky personality where her new shepherd loves her and it just wants her as a pet. And so it all ended well, but I learned a lot of hard lessons, and I was so upset with myself and so angry and at myself, and I felt very ashamed because I felt like I was just being extremely hard on myself for not knowing what I didn't know and not doing better for her. So I had a lot of shame, I guess, around that. So that happened, the weather happened, just busy with life. I was busy with my garden, being a full-time mom, taking care of the farm and the animals, and just trying to survive, it seems like, these days. And and then speaking of weather, I guess I'm going to get it all out in the beginning. We just had back-to-back extreme high winds, and it was actually my birthday night that these high winds started, and I was in such a state of anxiety that I didn't sleep at all. I felt like my heart was going to explode, like I was going to have a heart attack. Meanwhile, my son and my husband slept through the night. And then we had a day where things calmed down, and then the next day we were hit with another storm. If I'm remembering that correctly, it was just my birthday was the 9th. So we had small airplanes that were flipped over and pulled out, like they were tied down with harnesses, and they were pulled out and flipped over, and it sounded like the roof was going to get ripped off. And this is the second year in a row, or roughly about a year apart, that this happened again. So it's been very difficult on me. And I think 20-year-old Stephanie that didn't have a child would have handled this very differently. But now that I'm a mom, it's so scary. It's so scary to feel like I'm responsible for the care and protection of my family. So that's kind of what's been going on with me. And there's so much more. But I'm not going to be able to. I was gone for like 3/4 of a year. I don't remember the last time I put. It's about a year ago, I think. Roughly a year ago. Oh. So I have 2 new dairy sheep that I got last year. I trained them to milk them. I milked them for part of the summer. I ended up drying them off early. And they are due in February, and I am going to do my absolute best to keep them in good health and have hopefully lots and lots of raw milk. So I'm excited for that. I'm also nervous, and I'm hoping we don't have any triplets this time. Just twins or singles, and I'd rather have singles at this point. So we'll see. It's all a learning experience and a journey, and everybody makes mistakes. And if anybody's really hard on me, the person who's the hardest on me is myself. I found that other shepherds, shepherdesses, vets, mentors have a lot of kindness and empathy, and like to tell me that it's not my fault. And but you could see that I still have a lot of guilt over it, even though it had a pretty happy ending for my old sheep Luna. So I have the 2 new girls. I renamed them. They are Freckleface, which that was my husband's nickname, Freckles, and Mochi, which my son, I asked him, he's only 3, and I asked him, what should we name her? Because I didn't like their original names that they came with, and Edna and Ellen. And so He said mochi because he was just kind of obsessed with mochi. Mochi Mochi, the ice cream. Miss Freckles right there in the background. And Smile behind her. Then we've got Mochi chewing her cud. Arnold down there. Mr. Condor. Hi, Arnold. In my favorite little weather. Our firstborn. My sweet boy. Hi, Freckles. I have some knitting to share. I thought I would start with some finished objects, and I have some designs, and none of the designs that I have are anywhere near publishing, and I don't know if or when they will be. So just keep that in mind. One of the first things I want to show is this hood that I recently finished. It is called Hedda. The pattern is called Hedda. It is a pattern that I purchased on Ravelry, and it is lovely. It's just for chores, really. When I need to go fill water buckets and it's really cold outside and the wind is blowing and it just blows right through you, you need all the layers. So it's a nice, large, oversized hood. I'm not going to put it on because I bothered to make my hair look decent. And put on my war paint, as my grandfather would have said. So it's knit with Plutolopi, an Icelandic yarn held double. Actually, I think there is some, the white might be Latlopi, which is held single. And I had these colors already on hand. I was going to use them for something else, but that didn't happen. So I decided I wanted a hood, and this is the pattern that I found. It has I-cord strings. I might have to go help. We'll see. You can probably hear my toddler playing in the background. I gave him some things to play with, so we'll see how long that lasts. I made some changes. I did a 1x1 rib for the hem, and it does have a tendency to flip, but I haven't blocked it yet. She had corrugated rib, I think, and then the pattern I did the same. I think I knit this all the same, but I added a steek. So she calls for working flat. At a certain point you cast off stitches down here at the bottom, and then you work flat until you reach a certain height, and then you do short row shaping. And I didn't see any reason whatsoever to work flat when I could just add a steek. I added maybe 5 stitches, a purl, knit 3, purl, so 5 stitches all the way up. And then at some point I had to bind off. I don't remember. I do a lot of this without thinking because I love my steeks. So I picked up for the band. You knit it long enough so that it folds over on itself, and then fully encased the steek inside of that, so it made it extra thick right here. And you can pull the strings for a little bit of a Kenny look, if you know what I mean. So it's been really nice. I think if it's really cold, you could even wear a hat underneath it, and then this over top of your hat, and then your coat hood over top of that, because sometimes it is that cold. So that's it. This is Hedda, and it's a lovely little pattern. If you're comfortable with steeks, highly recommend adding the steek. It cuts out a lot of time to do that. So that's one thing that I finished. This I'll briefly show. I felt like my son needed another pair of mittens, and I let him pick out some Jameson and Smith yarn that I had in stash, and he was very adamant about the yellow. He loves blue, and he was like, yellow. Really wanted the yellow. So I did some yellow accents, and I don't remember exactly what the name of this pattern is. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's a free pattern. I don't really recommend it for beginners. It's not very beginner friendly instructions wise. The thumbs in particular, I feel like some people that don't have experience doing thumbs might get a little confused. I just didn't. It's a free pattern, so I don't want to complain, but I just feel like there could be some more clarity around knitting the thumbs, like the instructions. So overall, nice little pattern, and my son loves them. So moving on. Okay, really fun. We'll put in something completely different. Some weaving. So you can't see it. I have a rigid heddle shacked flip loom, which I think I bought 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember exactly. And I haven't touched it since at least I was pregnant, or before I was pregnant. So I pulled it out of the basement, dusted it off, cleaned it up, and warped some stash carpet warp that I had. I think it's called 8/4 carpet warp that I had already, and I used green, blue, and black, and I did 9. I'm not great with the weaving terminology, so I pulled 9 through each slot, 9 of each through each slot, which is like 18. It's 18 ends, right? So I'm just relearning all of this stuff because I forgot a lot of it. So I did the carpet warp, and then this is I don't want to say junk yarn, but it's just just to get it started with, and then the blue section here is where it's a rug. I didn't even tell you it's a rug. Okay, so what started this was I saw this book at a local bookstore, and it was like serendipity, perfect timing. I had just been thinking that I really need a lot of rugs. We have very, very long hallways in our house. We don't have 2 stories, we have 1 story, and it's just really long L shape. And so I really need some runners, but I don't want to spend the money on buying. I don't even want to think about how much it would cost to buy things. And then nowadays everything is so poorly made that you spend a bunch of money on it, and then literally in a week it's falling apart. So I just bought, not this shirt, but almost all of my shirts seem to develop holes after like 1 or 2 washings or wearings. So everything is just, quality control has gone way down. So I saw this book, and it was exactly what I had been thinking of, doing some sort of rag rug. And this, I don't think is super beginner friendly. It's very inspiring, and I'll show you one that I really like a lot. Oh, actually, I really like this one. He made with paint drop cloth, you know, like the thick canvas drop cloths that you put down when you're painting. And there's one he made with, who's the author? What's his name? Tom Kinsley. There's one he made that was really pretty with an old wool blanket that he cut up. I mean, there's tie-dyeing, there's a lot of this is over my head. Like, I don't really understand yet how to read all of the pattern. Like they show you how to, and plus I have just a simple rigid heddle. I don't have a floor loom. I don't have a really, you know, big, fancy, heavy-duty loom with all of the heddles, and it's difficult to do patterns. So here's a picture. I think this is the author. I certainly don't have something like this. I have a simple little rigid heddle loom on a stand, and but I'm happy to have that. So I ripped up, after being inspired by him. This is the one I was looking for right here. But the pattern is a little too complicated. I need to stay on plain weave for a little while, until I get a little bit better. But my weft, okay, so warp is the strands that go vertically, and the weft goes left to right. So like weft, left, left to right. So the warp was the cotton warp, and the weft was an old sheet. So this was an old sheet of my husband's that I think was like a full-size sheet. It had a rip in it, it had some stains in it, it was just hanging around. I think I've wrapped up fleeces in it in the past, and when the fleeces come straight off the sheep and they're dirty and a little bit wet, you wrap them up in the sheets. So I just ripped the sheet into 1-inch strips and connected all the pieces together. There's a method where you can cut a little slit and then pull the next piece through and kind of make a little knot. There's some videos on it if you're curious. Just maybe hunt. Oh, my helper's coming. So that was the first project on my rigid heddle, and it's not as thick as I want it to be. Hi. It's not as thick as I would like, so I think maybe my strips needed to be wider. Don't go that way, buddy. You gonna work on your weaving?
Weaving. Metal.
So I'm going to overlock.
Metal.
That's not metal, that's wood. I've got to overlock the edges with my serger sewing machine and fold them under. Lincoln, that's not metal. What is this?
Wood.
Wood? What's this?
Blue.
Yarn. Blue yarn. Blue yarn. So that's it for this project. And I pulled out another wood. I pulled out this old book, to remember some of the things that I forgot about weaving and just kind of the general, thank you, terminology and how to do things. I was very rusty. So I've got, let's see, I've got some more knitting to show, but I might start with, thank you, with some yarn that is fresh off of the spinning wheel. This is from my sheep Luna that I was talking about earlier. So here's some of her wool that has been washed. Thank you. He's handing me all the weaving sticks. All the sticks. Did you get them all? The sticks.
Wool.
You got some wool. So there you can see it's not a very long staple length, and it's got some nice crimp on it though. But it's not particularly soft. It's not very long. It's not very smooth and silky. It doesn't really shine in any way. It's kind of You gonna sing the sun song? It's kind of meh as far as wool goes. But look how pretty that turned out. So originally I was thinking that I would. You're gonna make this very difficult to finish, bud. Do you want to go play with your letters?
Play letters.
Go play with your letters on your whiteboard. Go play with your letters on the whiteboard.
Play letters. Whoa.
Do you want to take that with you, or you want to put it back? I'll take it. Thank you. Why don't you go play with your whiteboard? Your easel? And go play with your sea creatures? Go play with your sea creatures on your easel. He got the little leftovers I couldn't fit on my bobbin. This little bit. I squeezed as much as I could, and I had this little bit that I couldn't fit on when I was plying. Originally I was thinking I would like to use this for weaving. I've been very inspired by someone I found on, I did some Googling, and then I found she has an Etsy shop, and I don't remember her name, but her store I think is called Get Weaving, and she also has a YouTube, I think it's Get Weaving. I think. And she makes clothes and sews them, so weaves them on simple small looms, cuts them and sews them into dresses, and she's from the UK, I think. And so she has like pinafores, which it's like, I think of it like an overall skirt. It's like an overall dress. Overalls with a dress. Anyway, so I was thinking about weaving with it, but I could also make some socks with it, and I might spin or dye some in a contrast color. I don't know if I'll dye the wool and then spin it, or spin some more wool and then dye it. Doesn't really matter. Or just use some natural colored wool from any of my other sheep so that I don't have to pull out my dye pots. But it's kind of a DK weight to worsted. It's I find this is not my first time spinning her wool. I have some more that I did months ago that it just poofs. It's something about the structure of the fiber that just like, so even I felt like I was spinning it pretty thin. It just expands a lot. So I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with that, but it might become socks, or it might get woven into fabric. So on the topic of socks, my friend Carrie, My Wool Mitten Farm, she is hosting she annually hosts a sock spin along knit along, and I have taken part. I think I've taken part every time, and I couldn't help myself. I got all excited watching her intro video. So last year I knit a pair of socks that I never shared. I never showed, or if I partially showed them, I never showed the whole thing because they are a design, and it is my hope and intention to get it written into a pattern. It's going to be more of a recipe geared towards hand spinning. Of course, you could knit them with mill spun yarn, but these are the socks that I knit last year. And so some of you might recognize, if any of you have purchased and knit my testers knit my Golden Cosmos cowl, which I really, really, really love. I wear it all the time. It's my favorite little cowl to grab, and it's essentially this flower pattern in a cowl form with some Latvian braids, and I loved it so much. I think immediately after I designed the cowl and got that out, I wanted to use it again, and so I designed these socks. And this is my hand spun yarn. This is a mixture of two of my sheep. So the brown wool is such a warm, homey Morit Shetland brown. It's from my sheep Smile, and Smile has a traditional or classic long, more open, some crimp. Oh, I have some right here. Let me reach around. Okay, here's some of her wool from this past shearing. It's normally longer than this. I made a big boo-boo last year, and I had the sheep shorn too early. So it would be, you know, at least another inch on top of this. Her staple length is 5 to 6 inches, and so it's one of my favorites. Though it is not a super fine fleece. She has some super fine genetics. I find it very soft. The comfort and the handle of it is really, really lovely. It's a dream to comb. It's just one of my favorites. They're all my favorites, though. They're all my sheep, so I love them. So the brown is Smile, and the cream is from my Ram Condor. And so my sheep are in these, and I've never worn them, and I made them like a year ago, so I've been waiting. And so this pattern is, like I said, it's going to be a recipe more than a strict pattern, and it will have several options. And so there will be some different ways to play with the socks, and I'm not going to get into that. I need to get my butt in gear and really work on it. So one of the ideas is that I might use Luna's wool and get a contrast color to do another pair of these that they might look a little different, and so we'll see. And I could use some Shetland for the contrast, or maybe a blend. We'll see. We'll see. So, what else do I have to share? I have a couple more designs. I have a mitten pattern. Oh, and I have a new children's pattern that I don't see myself publishing for sale anytime soon, but I'll show you that because I've only been working on this for less than a month, I think. The inspiration hit and I really got off and going with it. So I'll do this. Here's the bottom. It's bottom up, and da-da-da, it has elephants. So this is going to be a 3-year-old, maybe 3, 4. I don't know. It might have to be wider for a 4-year-old. My little guy is a string bean, so he's long and lean. These are, he liked the elephants, and he loves blue, and he loves wearing sweaters. He loves having extra layers on, and so he is extremely knit worthy, and I know he's going to love it, and he'll probably have a fit when it's done and he gets to wear it. And I ask him to take it off because he normally does. Any of his sweaters, he really, really loves wearing sweaters, so I'm not complaining. So it's got steeks for the armholes, and I just bound off for the neck opening so that the neck will be lower down here like that. And I forgot that I will need to do some more charting for the back, because the back and the front will have to be slightly different due to the neck opening. So it's not super beginner friendly. It's a little complicated, and creating multiple sizes, it would be so much work. And I just don't know if there's going to be enough desire, or you know, there would be enough income generated from it for the amount of work that it would take to create a beautiful pattern that's well written and has multiple sizes and things. So right now I'm really just doing it for my child, who loves sweaters, and his mother loves making things for him, so I adore it. And it's going to be a drop shoulder design, and I think I'm going to put this little small pattern right here on the arms right there. So I bet you can hear that. I'm going to have to work through it, because this is how it goes in my house. So I've got a crochet project too that I might share, but I thought I will briefly share another design that I started also a year ago, and I completely knit the first mitten. So it's a mitten design, and it's kind of got a his and hers thing going on. I wanted to have sizes for larger hands, like some men, could be women too, or anyone. So the original mitten was this one, and I wanted to make some adjustments to the thumb and the thumb gusset. And so this is the new version, which the thumb gusset is so much better. It's beautiful and more functional and more comfortable. And I've got a men's version. So these are going to be for my husband. And unfortunately, this first pair is a little bit smaller and not as comfortable. And the thumb, I made a lot of changes to the thumb to improve it. So I'm going to have to make a whole nother one for myself. So these are for me. And then I adore the colors in this one for my husband. So I love it so much. So this is where I've been at. I've been working on this. I finished this one pretty quickly. And then I actually, you know, like I said, I had started this a year ago. So I completely knit this one a year ago. And then I had started working on one for my husband and put it down. I had just done like cuffs. And so I knit this pretty quickly. I got to finish the thumb, as you can see. And he's excited about it. And I think he's cautiously optimistic that I'll actually finish it for him. But he's not holding his breath. So I hope that I can finish getting these done and work on it. But you know, I'm not in a great hurry, and it'll take a long time to get. If I get around to publishing it properly, I will need testers and all that jazz, and that takes a really long time, and a lot of management on my end, and responsibility in typing up a well-written, understandable pattern for customers. So I'm using Jamieson and Smith for these, for both. This is a lot of it is stash that I've had for a few years, or I think I bought a little bit for my husband's mittens last year. And I just had a lot of colors on hand. Otherwise, I would probably just done it in 2 colors, because it's quite expensive now to use this many colors, especially you're not using a lot of each skein, so it might be much it would be a lot less ends to weave in for sure if you just use 2 colors, and if you don't have a stash to pull from, you could save a lot of money by just using 2 colors. So we'll see. I don't have a name for it yet. I have a name in mind though, and yeah, there's no rush on getting it published and things like that, unless people want to just start knocking on, hounding on my door virtually and signing up to be testers right away. Then maybe I'll find some motivation to the typing and the editing on the computer can be kind of daunting. If you've never done that before, it's a lot of work. So I have a crochet project that I kind of want to share. And I think I shared most of the main things that I've been working on. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but this video is probably plenty long enough. So I started making something for a family member that doesn't watch this channel and doesn't know about this, and I kind of want it to be a secret for this person. So there are people who know about it, this channel, that are family members, but it's not for use. So sorry to be so cryptic. I've started another Great Granny Square blanket. I have, some of you know, I have a hand-spun Great Granny Square blanket, which I started, I think in 2018. I did a crochet along. I think it was 2018. And I still am adding to it to this day. In fact, I could go grab it. I have like 2 or 3 new borders on it with new hand-spun, but I'm not adding that today. So, to this video today, but maybe next time. So I was talking to this family member, and I just had this strong feeling that I wanted to gift some love to them. And I wanted to make a blanket, and I've got all of these leftover hand-spun bits and pieces. And so I started with this one, and at the very center is my sheep, Arnold, the very first lamb that was born on our farm. Arnold is a jet black Shetland sheep, and you really don't get any more jet black than his wool. It is super black. And then just ends and pieces. I think this yellow and this gray is from leftovers from the socks that I'm wearing. Hold on. This is also part of Carrie of my Wool Mittens sock spin along, knit along from, I think, 2 years ago. Or was it 3? I don't remember. So some of this yarn is in my original Great Granny Square blanket, but I'm going to do this one differently. So this one is going to be done in large squares that are sewn together. So here's the second square that I've started, and I'm using just lots of scraps. And so I made this one quite large, and then I thought, I'm really not going to be able to keep going with, I prefer to do solid rows, solid rounds, instead of doing like really scrappy bits. So I think what I'm going to do is a 3 by 6. So 3 of these left to right, and 6 down maybe, to make maybe a queen or full size blanket. And it might not be perfectly square when all is said and done, but it's the love that went into it and the thought that matters, I think. Every bit of this yarn was made by me and crocheted by me into this blanket. And so there's a whole lot of love and energy put into this. And so I think this person, a family member that could use it. And that is just about everything I wanted to talk about. I'm very excited to join in on the spin along, knit along. Whoa, that's some more wool. Some pretty Coreopsis dyed Jacob. So, yeah, moving on. There's been a lot of beautiful times. This, you want to show this wool too? Yeah, that's what it looked like before I turned it into yarn.
Yellow.
It's kind of yellow-orange.
Yellow-orange.
Yellow-orange, is it pretty? I also think these would make awesome socks. And maybe I could do white with it. They would be very bright socks, but that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me again. I think I've got a dog to take out and a little kid that's at the end of his patience with me doing this. So maybe I'll see you guys soon, and I'll have an update with the sock spin along. And that's all I've got for you today. Bye. Hey. You're so silly.
Phone.